Turning to politics, the federal Liberals have suffered another crushing by-election defeat after losing the traditional Liberal stronghold riding of Lasalle-Emard-Verdun in Montreal last night. The Bloc Québécois' Louis-Philippe Sauve beat the Liberal candidate Laura Palestini by about 250 votes, with the NDP's Craig Sauve only a few hundred votes behind her. The Montreal seat opened up when former Justice Minister David Lametti left politics. And in a second by-election last night, the NDP kept their long-held seat of Elmwood-Transcona in Manitoba, with Leila Dance beating Conservative candidate Colin Reynolds by about 1,200 votes. The Conservatives had been pushing hard to take the seat. The results have Prime Minister Justin Trudeau saying the Liberals have, quote, all sorts of reflections to make.
We need people to be more engaged. We need people to understand what's at stake in this upcoming election. Obviously, it would have been nicer to be able to win and hold Verdun, but there's more work to do, and we're going to stay focused on doing it.
Obviously, it's not what we expected as the outcome. We need to be humble. You know, every time Canadians express themselves, we have to listen and be humble. I would say we need to redouble efforts as well to show that the Liberal team is the best team to deliver for Quebecers.
Meantime, with the NDP deal to support Trudeau's minority government on the trash heap, Bloc Québécois leader Yves-François Blanchet was asked about supporting Trudeau. He says he's in no rush to trigger a federal election.
Some Quebecers come to me and say, we would like to go into election. We would like to get rid of. But getting rid of Mr. Trudeau in order to have him replaced by Pierre Poilievre, who basically says the same thing or nothing about successful immigration, about oil and gas. They say basically the same thing. So what's the point of replacing one person that does not work for Quebecers by another person that will not work for Quebecers?
For more on this, let's bring in political analyst Keith Leslie. Keith, let's start in Quebec. How serious is the loss of Verdun to the Liberals?
In a word, devastating. I mean, this would be an extinction-level event for the Liberals if an election were to be held anytime in the near future. After losing Toronto St. Paul's in June and now losing Montreal-Verdun at the end of the summer, boy, that just shows the Liberals are making no ground whatsoever. And if Liberals can't win in Montreal and Toronto, where can they win? And I suspect there's an awful lot of Liberal backbenchers asking themselves that very question right now.
Trudeau has lost two strongholds in recent months. You mentioned Toronto there. He says there's all sorts of reflections to be done. Should he perhaps be reflecting on the idea of staying on as leader?
Well, that seems obvious to everyone except Justin Trudeau at this point in time. We haven't heard any of his cabinet ministers. They were all showing solidarity today, but I think it's only a matter of time before the calls start coming from inside the House, and then we start hearing some Liberal MPs saying Justin Trudeau has to go. I mean, he's getting for his fourth election as leader. In any case, that's signs of hubris, but when the polls show that the Liberals have absolutely no chance, it's Justin Trudeau himself who firmly believes he can come from behind again and that he will be able to do it. So he's not going to go away, apparently, and he believes he can win.
Let's talk about Manitoba. The NDP hold on, but by a lesser margin than previously. The Conservatives failed to get the seat despite a very hard push. What's the takeaway for both parties?
Well, for the NDP, of course, it's a huge sigh of relief. This riding in Winnipeg was as important for them as the Montreal-Verdun riding was for the Liberals. So they absolutely had to hold on to it. The big news for the Conservatives is, of course, they didn't win it, but they increased their percentage of the votes, really made it a real horse race there. And their percentage of the vote was over 40%. That's where they are nationally in the polls. So that's some comfort for Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives, especially when they placed a poor fourth place in Montreal-Verdun.
Do you think the results last night make a federal election more likely in the near term now?
Well, as we heard from the Bloc leader Blanchet just ahead of this piece, that he doesn't see any point right now in switching out Justin Trudeau for Pierre Poilievre. But then he walked right into question period and threatened an election if the Liberals didn't support the Bloc's bill for seniors. So it's going to be, very uncertain, I think, is the best. The government has said that the Conservatives can have an opposition day motion on Tuesday, so I think that's when they're going to introduce the first non-confidence vote, but I don't think the NDP are ready to support it yet. I still think an election is going to come next spring when the Liberals' budget gets defeated.
But you mentioned that thing on Tuesday. I saw the Toronto Star reporting that. I have a feeling we might be talking on Tuesday about that.
I suspect we just might.
All right. Thanks very much, Keith, as always.
Thank you.